Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Canadiens Connection podcast right here on Rocket Sports Radio, where we keep you informed, engaged, and entertained each and every week, talking about the Montreal Canadiens all summer long and, well, now starting to get into the fall season, which is hockey season as well, and have a lot to talk about today. My name is Amy Johnson. I'm going to be your host for today's show, episode number 364 of the Canadiens Connection podcast. And if I sound a little not quite so boisterously energetic off the top, well, it's because, it's going to be not a heavy show, but there's some things that happened in the Habs world this week, late this week, that we're going to talk about. In fact, the title of today's show, Habs Icons in the Crease, Remembering Dryden, Honoring Price. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be a poignant show filled with some good conversation about two incredible hockey players. Of course, to do that, I need to bring in my wonderful co-host, who is our founder and president here at Rocket Sports. His name is Rick Stevens. Rick, I ask this to you every week, right about now at the start of the show, but it hits a little different this week. How you doing today?
Well, listen, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that our listeners are here. I'm glad that you're here. It is a different day. I'm feeling a little bit out of sorts. The earth has shifted a little bit in the hockey world, and we're going to be talking about goaltenders today. We're going to be talking about two iconic goaltenders, as you said. Our title is today, and I think we'll start today with if you know and love hockey, you've read the book called The Game, a reflective and thought-provoking look at life in hockey by Ken Dryden. And he describes goaltenders this way in his book. If you were to spend time with a team without ever watching them on ice, it wouldn't take long before you discovered who its goalies were. Goalies are different. Whether it's because the position attracts certain personality types or permits certain ones to succeed, whether the experience is so intense and fundamental that it transforms its practitioners to type, I don't know the answer. But whatever it is, the differences between players and goalies are manifest and real, transcending as they do even culture and sport. And certainly the goaltenders that we're going to be talking about, these pillars of the Montreal Canadiens franchise, Montreal Canadiens organization are different, and it's a different kind of day for Montreal Canadiens fans.
That's right. So we just going to give you just a quick idea of what to expect on today's show. We will, in the first segment, still give you our weekly news report because there are some news items that have come out this week regarding members of the roster, things regarding the Canadiens organization. We're going to be sure you're up to date for your September hockey calendar and give you some key dates to be watching for. We do have some information for you in the Habs prospect report as well. All of that, of course, leading up to our big topic this week, which would be our second segment, entitled Carey Price and Ken Dryden, Defining Generations of Goaltending. And we are going to take our time today and reflect on and give due respect and honor to Carey Price and the role he has played in the Montreal Canadiens organization after his contract was traded away from the Canadiens yesterday. And then we are going to do the same thing, pay our respects and reflect on an outstanding career and life that was Ken Dryden's, who sadly passed away on Friday at the age of 78. So we are going to spend plenty of time discussing these two iconic gentlemen in our second segment. And of course, as always, in our third segment, we're going to wrap up with letting you have your say. We've got some great replies to some of our questions of the week from last week, and some outreach from fans and fellow team members here at Rocket Sports and so forth. So we will leave you on a fun note towards the end of the show. So with that being said, let's get right into it. And start off with just some roster news. The informal workouts that are taking place at the Canadian Sports Complex out of Brossard are continuing to happen. There's been a number of development staff or development type staff on the ice this week. Rick, of course, that includes Adam Nicholas, Mark Bureau, and another familiar face, just wearing a different outfit.
Yeah, of course. We've talked about this, and these workouts have increased in number. Typically, you're seeing a dozen, 15 players on the ice at Brossard. They can't be formal practices. The Canadiens coaching staff cannot be involved. They can't be involved until training camp begins. So you see Adam Nicholas out there on the ice leading some of these. Mark Bureau was running face-off drills with the centers and maybe those wingers as well. And this week we talked about last week Will David Savard having recently retired from the Canadiens. As a player, will he join the team in some capacity? And Savard didn't want to talk about it too much. He just said that the talks are underway. Well, Savard was there, not wearing a practice jersey or anything like that. He was in one of those coach's warm-up outfits, tracksuit outfit. Looked like a coach out there. He looked like a pretty big coach out there, but he was involved, and so maybe something is waiting to be announced over the next week or two.
One of the Habs' top prospects was involved in the Upper Deck NHL Rookie Showcase in Washington, D.C. this week. That's the annual Rookie Showcase, where 30 of the league's top rookies and prospects gather together in Arlington, Virginia. This is of course, the 15th edition of the NHLPA Rookie Showcase. And it was David Reinbacher who was the Canadiens' invite and representative this week. And he seemed, they always have great, since Upper Deck is also there, they, take some great photos for their playing cards and so forth. There are some great on-ice images of Reinbacher that were circulating social media this week, Rick, but also had a chance then to get some quotes in, and everyone, of course, is keenly watching how Reinbacher is going to look and how that knee's going to look come rookie camp in a week or so.
Well, we'll just remind you what Reinbacher said in the locker cleanout day at the end of the Laval Rockets season. And he said that his knee was 90%, 95%, but that it was going to be on his mind over the summer as he trained. So that left some fans with questions. So what did he say? And you said they were in Arlington, Virginia, which is the practice facility for the Washington Capitals. Mm-hmm. Reinbacher said, quote, "I'm 100% now. My knee's very good. During the summer, I never felt any problems. I was happy to see that it was holding up. I changed my training plan. I wanted to try some new things to strengthen my knee and avoid injuries. I hope this season will be injury-free. I'm really motivated." And we all hope the same.
We all hope that too.
Absolutely.
He went on to say, quote, "It's certain that my goal remains to break into the team right now," meaning the Canadiens NHL squad, "but I don't have the final say. I have to focus on myself, on what I can do on the ice every day to try to influence management's decisions. Sometimes you have to be patient. Not everyone gets to play early in the NHL. To grow, you need to learn a lot of things. I think this is the right path. I understand what they are doing. What I have to do is show up every day and work hard. The rest will come. End quote.
So he's playing both sides. Whatever happens, happens. I'm going to work hard and I'm going to try to make the team. But otherwise, I'm okay with going to Laval. I think, and we've said this before, that the Canadiens are going to give him every opportunity to earn a spot on the team. And that even though that may cause some issues with their 23-man roster when it comes to opening night, but they would like him to spend a significant part of the season, whether it's right from the start or after a call-up, a significant part of the season with the Canadiens, if he's able to do that, if his knee's able to handle that, and if he is contributing as to what has been called by some in the organization the best defense in the National Hockey League.
So we won't have much longer to wait. We're going to give you some dates here in a few minutes, but rookie camp is literally right around the corner. We won't have long to wait to actually get to start seeing Ryan back on the ice and see how that knee is holding up. The Canadiens, boy, this is one of those, I don't know that there's a lot of middle ground on this one. I think this is one of those you either love it or you hate it kind of things. The Canadiens this week unveiled a new center ice logo for the Bell Center. It's quite colorful. In fact, it is not just the simple CH logo. It's a full
3D,
like a 3D red and blue and white. Almost looks kind of like a stamp. It looks like a logo that you would create as a watermark or a header or something like that in the middle of the ice. The colors are striking. I'm going to say right up front, I'm not a huge fan of it. I like the more simplistic, just the team logo, not kind of a big graphic around the team logo. I also question how easy it's going to be for pucks to get lost within all of the dark red at center ice, but we'll see how that goes. But as far as the logo itself, the Canadiens, when they released it, made sure to point out some notable factors about it. The first is that, Rick, the name of the team is only in the French version of the name, as they say, giving their nod to the team's Québécois history.
Okay.
Also, if you look around the perimeter of the circle, the red circle that encapsulates the Canadiens logo in the middle of it, you'll see that it's sort of gray at the edge of the red, and it's like a scalloped circle that goes all the way around the outside. Apparently, that is the shape of, if you were looking down from above at the top of the Stanley Cup, that's the gray circle, and the scallops that are all the way around it. There are 24 of those scallops representing each of the Canadiens' Stanley Cup victories.
If you have to get the guide, the guidebook from the marketing folks to explain what it is, then the logo isn't working. I actually liked it when I first saw it. I kind of liked the idea of it. I liked the colors of it. But as they went through all this explanation, I thought, well, you should either get it or you don't. And the first thing, and I think it's almost universal out there, I don't know anyone who looked at that and said, "Oh yeah, that's the top of the Stanley Cup." No, that's a Molson, an old Molson bottle cap. It is. Everybody said that. The fact that they're trying to, okay, this is the origins and all. In the current climate of the country, how about How about uniting people? How about pride in whether you're an English fan or French fan or whatever kind of fan you are, not only in Quebec or in Canada, but Habs fans are everywhere across the world. I thought that was, I didn't really appreciate that. You want something that unites people. As far as technically, I remember the time, and I guess it's a while back, where, it's in the spring when the buildings would heat up, that the ice was poorer on the dark parts of the ice, and that was the blue line and the red line. So this big red blotch in the middle, I guess the technology is such that it's not going to affect, it's not going to make the ice any softer. That is attracting the heat from all the big lights in the arena. Okay, they use LEDs and all that stuff now. I get it. And the Canadiens have the best ice that's kind of undisputed. I'm kind of back to, I've done the full circle. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I'd like to see it maybe elsewhere. But I'd want to see the traditional logo, and I know I'm offside with people. Most people seem to like the two sideways logos because they don't want the logo one CH split by the center line. But I like one logo, one CH on the ice facing the broadcast camera. I don't want to be tilting my head as I watch to see that. That's what I like, and I'd prefer that.
Well, you have spoken. Let us know what all of you think, if you like the new logo or not. I also, as you say, if you have to go through the explanation of what every little detail in the graphic design is supposed to represent, like you do that when you unveil a New Jersey logo, like that's where you expect that kind of level of detail and did you catch this color over here represents this year, but not for the center ice logo. Anyway, let us know what you think. Do you like the new center ice logo? Do you not like it? Be sure to send us a text, 585-3-ROCKET, or drop us a comment on YouTube or social media. As we said, things are heating up. Let's give you an updated calendar for you to be keeping an eye on important dates this month and coming up soon after this month. The official announcement has been made by the Canadiens. Rookie camp opens on Wednesday, September 10th. That is just a handful of days away. It's not that far away. The prospect showdown that we discussed last week on the show, that is the Montreal Canadiens prospects facing off at the Bell Center in a mini tournament against prospects from the Maple Leafs, the Senators, and the Winnipeg Jets. That takes place on September 13th and 14th, so next weekend. That is followed up on Monday, a week from this Monday, September 15th, with the annual golf tournament in Laval-sur-le-Lac. 2 days after that, Wednesday, September 17th, is the opening of training camp. All of that then leads up to the Habs' first preseason game that takes place on September 22nd against the Pittsburgh Penguins. They play preseason from September 22nd through October 4th, which is their last preseason game. 2 days after that, Rick, October 6th is a very important date.
It is the deadline to submit the 23-man roster for all teams, but for the Montreal Canadiens. The opening night roster, that will be watched with interest and reported with. We'll have it here as well. Mm-hmm. And that's just 2 days ahead of the first regular season game against the Maple Leafs in Toronto. Almost a week later, on the 14th, is the home opener against Seattle. And just reported today by Pierre LeBrun, we found out the date of the trade deadline. The NHL trade deadline is going to be on March the 6th.
All right. Mark your calendars already for that. It's, right now we're like, trade deadline. We haven't even, but it'll be here before you know it.
And it kind of relates to the whole issue of cap space and pursuing a second line center, and all of that.
All of that. So those are the key dates right now to be keeping an eye on. Things are going to start in just a couple of days with rookie camp opening on September 10th. All right, we'll take this moment to dip into the Habs prospect report for a moment.
It's time for the Rocket Report. The Rocket Sports Media Team is your premier source for information about the Laval Rocket, the AHL affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens, as well as Habs prospects playing in the CHL, NCAA, and leagues around the world.
So we have seen the release of the second season of the Crave special series for the Canadiens. They're kind of behind the scenes of the rebuild program that they've put out. But the question on our agenda this week is, where is the behind the scenes special from the draft for this year?
What happened to that? We've usually that's usually come out on the Canadiens YouTube channel. It did last year, third week of August 22nd, I believe. And so we're wondering, where is that behind the scenes draft special? It's usually quite interesting. And now understand that the Canadiens did not have a night one pick. They traded both picks away, but I would think that they'd want to tell that story, tell the Noah Dobson story. And then there were important players selected beyond that, the trading up in the second round to get Zarovsky and so on down the line. But we're a little curious, so we'll watch out for that draft. We assume it's still coming.
We assume. We'll see if it ever surfaces. Corey Price was back this week at the Athletic with another ranking, this time ranking the best NHL players and prospects under 23. So we talked about a list and ranking that he did last week. This week it is overall, if a player is 22 years old or younger as of September 15th, 2025, then they are on this list to be ranked overall across the league.
That's right. So last week he was ranking the teams and their list of prospects, NHL affiliated prospects, I think was the title. And the Canadiens ended up fifth in that list. And then within that, within the Canadiens prospects, he ranked them as per the top Canadian prospects, and if you'll remember, it was Juraj Slafkovsky that was, in his opinion, the top Canadiens prospect or player under 23. So this week it's just a list from 1 to I think it goes to about 175, and this week we're going through and picking out where those Canadiens players landed in his overall list.
Do we want to get... They didn't show up in the top 6.
They did not. So in the top 6, Macklin Celebrini takes the number 1 spot, Connor Bedard number 2, Leo Carlsson number 3, Adam Fantilli number 4, Luke Hughes number 5, and this is not going to please Canadiens fans. Number 6, Matvei Michkov.
Oh boy. That does mean that the Canadiens arrive on this list at number 7, directly behind Matvei Michkov. Number 7, keeping in line with how he ranked the Canadiens prospects last week. Number 7 is Juraj Slafkovsky. So he's got Slafkovsky slotted in one place behind Matvei Michkov in this ranking.
So what does that mean for Demidov? What does that mean for Lane Hutson? He has Demidov a couple places later at number 10. But you got to scroll down a bit before you're going to find Lane Hutson. Remember, he wasn't too complimentary on Hutson. Ranking number 34, ranking Hutson as number 34.
Which, think what you will about Lane Hutson not appearing on the overall under 23 league-wide rankings. until number 34 on this list. What I find curious is that somehow Lane Hudson is 34 and David Reinbacher appears just 10 places later at 44.
Well, he's got a little confidence in David Reinbacher,
Okay.
or not in Lane Hudson.
One
Of the two.
One of the two.
Again, you have to scroll the list a long ways until you get to the next Canadian on his on the ranking of the best NHL players and prospects. At number 100, it's newly acquired Zach Bolduc.
Then you have to scroll a little further to get to 131, where Michael Hage comes in.
And the last Canadian on his list is at 139, and that's Oliver Kapanen. And it'll be interesting to see whether Kapanen, we saw him at the end of the season last year. It'll be interesting to see if he makes that 23-man roster at the start of the season. So you've been keeping track. You didn't hear Owen Beck's name. You didn't hear Jacob Fowler's name. You didn't hear Alexander Zarovsky's name. Those not part of the 175 or thereabouts number of players that he ranked.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. One last note before we take our first break here and get to our big topic for this week. You remember all of the hubbub last year with STM in Montreal, the public transit in Montreal, when suddenly they changed the Go Habs Go graphic on the sides of their buses to a French version of it. Was it
LA Canadiens,
LA? And then there was a whole kerfuffle about, that's it, what it should be, this, that, and well, they still haven't changed it back yet, and it was deemed that it's fine and it should be Go Habs Go. Well, they haven't changed it back yet. It's been all this time. They have not changed the buses back to saying Go Habs Go. And Rick, I'm sorry, they say it's just going to cost too much money for them to do that before the start of the season.
This is pathetic. It's pathetic. First, the whole kerfuffle, the change in the first place, and then the Quebec language minister came out and said, "Hey, Go Habs Go it's part of Quebec culture, so get it back on the buses." And they said no, we can't do it in time for the playoffs and whatnot, but we'll do it for the fall. Well, now they haven't been able to do it for the fall. They said it's a very, very difficult manual process that takes time and is very expensive to do. Honest to goodness. They all have to be done manually. They take a USB drive, they plug them into and they update it that way. Seemed like, when is cheap labor available? And a simple task for like a student or several of them or a mob of them to do over the summer? Anyway.
And as you said this before we recorded the show today, they changed it the first time awfully quickly. In
seconds flat, they just got it changed, and they can't go back. Anyway, bad, silly. Just get it done.
The saga continues.
And stop making this into such a drama.
That's right. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the Canadiens Connection podcast, bring you a message and some incentives from our dear friends and sponsors over at DraftKings. They've got a great incentive for you kicking off the NFL season. If you've been watching NFL football Thursday night and Friday night this week, leading into week 1 Sunday. So check that out. And when we come back on the other side, Carey Price and Ken Dryden, defining generations of goaltending. Stay with us. You are listening to the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio.
NFL fans, week 1 is your shot to play free and stack $1 million cash bag with DraftKings Pick 6, an official partner of the NFL. Here's how. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, DraftKings' easiest way to play fantasy. Enter for free and pick more or less on 6 player stats for week 1. Share your link with friends to add more cash to the bag and get bonus shots to win. If you hit all Pick 6, you'll be splitting a bag that's already at $1 million or more. So download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, use code THPN, opt in for free, and start stacking entries for NFL Week 1. Zero cost, huge upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. Must claim token for free entry in Bag Builder contest. Only perfect entries earn share of cash prize. Tokens are single use and expire September 8th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
And welcome back to the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio. Once again, my name is Amy Johnson, your host for today's show. Now that hockey season is starting to rock and roll a little bit, if you'd like to follow my coverage over on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, you're welcome to do so. You'll find me at Flyers Rule. You're welcome to follow over there. And also be sure to follow our president and founder of Rocket Sports, my wonderful co-host, Rick Stevens. You can follow him at Rocket Sports. And don't forget, of course, if you've been with us all summer, we are very glad that you were able to get your weekly dose of Canadiens coverage and talk every week. That is going to continue throughout the preseason and into the season and just continue to ramp up. So if you haven't done so yet, just don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, tap subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, or head over to our YouTube channel, which is over at InsideTheCanadiens.com, and tap subscribe on our YouTube channel where you'll find us there as well.
I'm going to begin the segment today, and that's because to me the hockey world feels a little bit different. I mean, everything's fine, everything's proceeding as normal. Players, as we said earlier, are assembling in Montreal for the upcoming training camp. Practices going on. Informal practices going on at Brassard. The NHL schedule is going to start, on time, October 7th. Fans are going to fill the Bell Center for that Canadiens home opener on October 14th. But it's just that something feels different. It's kind of like when there's an earthquake and you're experiencing the after effects. Everything's kind of a little off kilter. Many people I've seen on social media say that they're shaken. They feel shaken, and for us here, and for me personally, it's different. We look around the studio here, and if you follow me on X, you can see the picture that I tweeted of the studio. I have Ken Dryden looking down, the pretzel mask looking down over my left shoulder. Carey Price, his bobblehead is on a shelf, and it's hard not to feel the gravity as we were preparing and as we're recording this Canadiens Connection podcast. There's so many thoughts going through my mind, so many memories, so many emotions. I was fortunate enough to watch both of them play, and I'm fortunate enough to meet both of them. And are we overstating? Am I overstating things here? Well, I don't think so, because both of these men, they were the best goaltenders of their eras, and as the title says, they define generations of goaltending. They both revolutionized the position of goaltending. They both excelled internationally. They both won at the highest level while representing their country of Canada. They both amazed Canadiens fans with highlight reel saves. They both were quiet leaders in leading their team. both on and off the ice. Both of them intimidated opponents. Both of them instilled confidence in their teammates, and both of them were great dads. And they're different. They're different people. They're different goaltenders, different eras. But it's the news on Friday. It was a big day.
It was a very big day. It started with Friday afternoon. The news, even though it was expected, even though we've been talking about it for a while, and even though it was kind of everyone just waiting for it to happen, it still made you feel something when the official announcement came from the Montreal Canadiens that Carey Price's contract, along with a 5th round pick in the 2026 NHL draft, was traded to the San Jose Sharks in exchange for Gannon Larocque. This coming, of course, after the GM meetings that took place in Detroit this week. And so, yeah, Rick, we've been talking about it for a while. I've said multiple times, I don't like it. I understand the logistics of it, but Carey Price is a Canadian. He should always be a Canadian. So it's kind of a tough pill to swallow to see it in black and white that it's a done deal and that Carey Price currently still has a contract in the NHL, and it's not with the Montreal Canadiens. With
all due respect to Gannon Larocque, we're not going to be talking about Gannon Larocque. He's a 22-year-old from Edmonton. He was drafted in the 4th round of the 2021 draft, and he really hasn't played since then. He last played a full season in the 2021-2022 season in the WHL. And then he's just played a handful of games since then. He's had lots and lots of injuries, and he may never play again. He certainly won't play for the Canadiens, probably won't play for Laval. If he plays at all, maybe in Trois-Rivières. But this wasn't about what was acquired. This was about San Jose needing to reduce their contracts by one, and so he needed to be added to the group. The GM meetings, Ken Hughes was in Detroit this week. He had an opportunity to talk to all of the GMs there, and San Jose was probably the one that fit best with the Canadiens and their situation. Both the San Jose situation and the Montreal Canadiens situation kind of meshed well. Chicago was also a team that was said to be in the running. And Carey Price played a role in this. In order to permit the trade to go ahead, he had to agree to waive his no trade clause. So he agreed. You may have seen Angela Price was asked about it on her Instagram, I believe it was. And she said, Carey will do what he's always done and do the best for the team. Carey Price is a team guy, a team first guy. He was that way when he played. He was that way with his health, and he was that way. Remember the expansion draft? Carey Price came forward, and it was a team first kind of move that he made. He has suggested that move, making himself available, and he helped out the Canadiens once again in this situation.
So let's just take a look back at it's. I mean, Carey Price has been such a, we keep using the word, but such an icon for the Canadiens organization for so many years. Sometimes you forget just how big of a career and how much success he had. He played in 712 NHL games during his career with the Canadiens. He posted a .361, .261, and .79 record, a .917 save percentage, and a .251 goals against. All of that including 49 shutouts. He was, as Rick, as you said earlier, he was the best This is and many fellow NHL goaltenders, many fellow NHL skaters, many coaches, many analysts all agreed Price was the best goaltender on the planet in his era.
He was, and that was universally stated. Players didn't want to face him. Name the player you don't want to face in a Game 7. NHL players said for years, Carey Price. He single-handedly carried the Canadiens for the better part of the decade. Ken Dryden, who we're going to talk about a little later, played in front of or behind a team of Hall of Famers, as it turned out. In the words at The Athletic, quote, Price is the Canadiens' all-time leader in most goaltending categories. And when you have, Canadiens goaltenders, you have Ken Dryden, you have Patrick Waugh, George Vezina, and on and on and on. Jacques Plante. Yep. Carey Price led them all in terms of many of the goaltending categories.
Now, we've talked about this quite often. In the month of August, we talked about it as the big question it was one of the big questions leading into training camp was Kent Hughes going to move this contract? Here's why it was possible. Here's why it was likely. We talked last week about the fact that Kent Hughes then came out and had a little bit of posturing, saying, well, we don't have to move the contract. We're only going to move the contract if it's the right fit, if it's the right situation, if it's the right scenario.
Yeah, he said we could go into the season as we've done before, and wanted to get the point across that the Canadiens weren't desperate to make a move, and that helped, I think, in that they only had to give up a 5th round pick. Some of the media outlets were talking about 2nd round pick, which is just silly. You'd use the 2nd round pick. You wouldn't waste it in a transaction like this. And as far as, managing the whole LTIR situation and the calculations, people made it sound like John Sedgwick was doing somersaults in order to get that done. Well, with the software today, I appreciate that John Sedgwick knows the CBA inside and out, and his attention to detail is unsurpassed. But with the software available that they use, and they could have managed this once again. They've done it already for a couple of years, and he could have done it again, as Ken Hughes said. But this by getting the move done, it just offers more options, more flexibility, and helps that the Canadiens don't have to go into carrying forward bonus overages and those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. So according to our friends over at Puckpedia, after trading Price's $10.5 million contract, the Habs now have $4.6 million of projected cap space with 23 active players. And with no roster moves, this can fit $20.9 million annual cap hit at the trade deadline.
Right. So we
put that in English for us.
We mentioned the at the start of the season, they have 4.6 on the books. They're $4.6 million under the cap. They accumulate space as you go, but you don't have to pay a salary of a player, for only partial of the season from the trade deadline on. So Puckpedia said they could add as much as $20.9 million of a cap hit at the trade deadline. And that's why we mentioned on that schedule you're keeping, the date, of March 6th, the newly announced date of the trade deadline. So this gives the Canadiens lots of flexibility. And if there's not a second line center available now that would fit the Canadiens' plans, they can just hold on, and maybe there's somebody who will be available later on in the season, or maybe not till now. It depends on how the Canadiens are doing over the course of this season. But it's clear that this was an advantage for both teams. The 5th round pick, and the Canadiens are taking on this bad contract. Seems about right for the exchange. From the Sharks' perspective, they're paying out less than $2 million. The Canadiens paid that bonus money already on September 1st. Much of that was paid by insurance. The $2 million that's left to pay, much of that will be paid by insurance. So the Sharks don't have a whole lot of money, and they get the advantage of a $10.5 million cap charge that will make sure they're already below the cap floor, but you can see them probably wanting to offload some of their veteran players at the trade deadline, and they could be at risk at falling below that cap floor if they didn't take on the Carey Price cap hit. So it benefits both sides. They reduce the Sharks do reduce their contract by 1. It's because Carey Price's contract doesn't count until he plays 9 games for the team. The Larocque contract is deducted, and they have 1 available to sign newly drafted Michael Misa.
Which is an important move for them that they will want to make. We talked about his statistics, his record with his career during the Canadiens, but let's just also remind you of how the league viewed Carey Price as well. The 2014-15 season was an especially magnificent one for Carey Price, with a 44-16-6 record, a 196 goals against average, and a 933 save percentage. Tremendous numbers by themselves, but that also helped earn him the Vezina, the Jennings, the Ted Lindsay, and the Hart Memorial trophies, all in the same year.
That was an incredible haul, especially the Hart for a goaltender. But yeah, he cleaned up in that year. He was incredible.
And the trophy collection wasn't done there. The 38-year-old was awarded the Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy in the 2021-22 season.
Yeah, and you heard me say that representing both Dryden and Price, representing their countries, had won at the highest level. There was the 2007 World Junior Championship. They won a gold medal for Team Canada. And then for Team Canada at the Olympics in 2014, he won a gold, and the 2016 World Cup, there was also a gold medal.
I'm also going to add to that he led the Canadiens' AHL affiliate, the Hamilton Bulldogs, to their last, the organization's AHL affiliate's last Calder Cup championship. He did that while he was playing for Hamilton as well.
So with all that, when you consider all that, and this is me speaking, he's going to be rightly honored as a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Should have been last year. He will be next year. And he will also have his number 31, rightly so, raised to the rafters of the Bell Center. I'm just convinced of that.
And I am convinced that once this contract runs its course, that the Canadiens will sign him to a one-day deal so that he can officially retire as a Montreal Canadien. And maybe he has a feeling about that as well, because his tweet that he put out in response to the news that his contract had been traded was, always a Hab, just a teal one for now, with a winking emoji. So very much like Carey to have an understated and man of few words tweet, but maybe there's a little foreshadowing there.
Yeah, and this isn't like a player being traded. This is a piece of paper. It's a contract being traded, and that's all it is.
That's right. So hopefully it will be sooner rather than later before we can talk about Carey Price and the Montreal Canadiens together again. Going to shift gears now, though, to the second monumental goaltender and monumental, larger-than-life hockey player in more ways than one that we want to discuss on today's show, and that's Ken Dryden. After the news comes out earlier in the day, Friday afternoon, that Carey Price's contract had been traded. In the overnight hours, many people woke up to this news on Saturday mornings. Some of you night owls would have seen it happen in real time, but many people woke up to the news of the Canadiens announcing that iconic former Canadiens goaltender Ken Dryden had passed away on Friday at the age of 78.
Well known for his calm demeanor on the ice, this goaltender won the Vezina Trophy 5 times to go along with his Conn Smythe and Calder trophies. His 6 Stanley Cup championships in his 8-year career speak volumes for his dominance. Number 29, Ken Dryden.
And the arena went crazy.
Yeah.
I was there that night. That's a great, you recognize his voice, the great Dick Irvin Jr. The night of the Centennial game, 2009 Centennial game, and an incredible night. First, the warm-ups with Eddie Palchuk coming with his red satin Habs jacket and the red bucket and dumping pucks on the ice, and then Patrick Waugh leads the team of legends out on the ice. And there was Guy Lafleur and Steve Shutt and Frank and Pete Mahovlich and Guy Lapointe and Bob Gainey and Stéphane Richer and Serge Savard and Yvon Cornway, and there's Ken Dryden. And he's wearing glasses, he's carrying his mask, and Patrick Waugh looked like he wanted to play. He had the mask down, he was in the net, and okay, shoot, take the warm-up shots. Ken kind of reluctantly got into the net. He put his mask. I was behind the glass, sitting on that end, and he put his mask on top of the netting. And he kicked out some shots, and the warm up was over, and it was the old Forum siren that went, and the crowd didn't stop standing and cheering, and the legends didn't want to get off the ice. They stayed out there, and they put the siren on the second time, like, clear the ice, we got a game here to start, and ceremonies and everything else.
Yeah.
But Ken Dryden was incredible. And then once the ceremony started and the individual introductions were done, that one that we just heard for Dryden, and the roof came off the place.
Definitely. In the Canadiens press release announcing the news, Jeff Molson made a statement saying, quote, "Ken Dryden was an exceptional athlete, but he was also an exceptional man. Behind the mask, he was larger than life. We mourn today not only the loss of the cornerstone of one of hockey's greatest dynasties, but also a family man, a thoughtful citizen, and a gentleman who deeply impacted our lives and communities across generations. He was one of the true legends that helped shape this club into what it is today."
So many, it's hard to explain how he dominated, but the one notation is that Dryden came in that Well, he made his debut in the 70 at the end of the 1970-71 season. Played 6 regular season games, won them all, and then went on to win the Stanley Cup. Led the Canadiens to win the Stanley Cup, and that 70-71 team is up on my wall here in the studio. Ken signed it for me. And so he not only won the cup, he won the Stanley Cup. He won the Conn Smythe Trophy, most valuable in the playoffs. And then the next year, he starts the season and he wins the Calder. So he won Rookie of the Year after winning his first Stanley Cup and a Conn Smythe. Of course, it's never been repeated and likely won't be.
No. The accolades and sentiments continued today and overnight Friday night and early today on Saturday. Gary Bettman, of course, with a statement saying, quote, Ken's early success was only a harbinger of what was to come. In 8 years with the Canadiens, Ken would lead a team filled with future Hall of Famers to 6 Stanley Cup championships, quickly becoming a beloved figure in his adopted hometown of Montreal. He won 5 Vezina trophies as the league's top goaltender, including 4 consecutive Vezina awards from 1975-76 to 1978-79. He was named as a member of the NHL's Greatest 100, and he was the NHL's dominant goaltender during the 1970s.
Yeah, just to emphasize, Ken Dryden, 8 seasons, 6 Stanley Cups, and 5 Vezina trophies.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. We've seen on social media today a lot of goaltenders also chiming in. Marty Brodeur had a very nice sentiment that he put out on Twitter, accompanied by a vintage photograph that Marty Brodeur's dad had taken of Ken Dryden. Carey Price also coming in on Twitter saying, quote, with a heavy heart, I extend my deepest condolences to the Dryden family. Thank you, Mr. Dryden, for your service not only as a Canadian with an E, but also as a Canadian with an A. You helped me as a young goaltender, and I will always be grateful for your thoughtful words of encouragement.
Yeah. Carey Price, a beautiful sentiment there. And I know he had a good relationship with Ken Dryden, and I'll always remember when the Canadiens at the beginning of the season used to bring out the torch, and they would pass the torch, and it was Ken Dryden wearing a number 29 jersey, passing the torch from the bench to Carey Price on the ice. Incredible.
Absolutely. And so we remember, as Rick just said, Ken Dryden, 8 seasons, 5 Vezinas, 6 Stanley Cups. The last time the cup was won, 1993. And was it just last year, I believe, the 1993 Cup winners had an anniversary appearance at the Bell Center prior to a game. And at that pregame ceremony, Ken Dryden spoke.
For 4 years, we almost never lost. Not during the regular season, not in the playoffs. We needed to win. We loved to win. And we needed and loved to win the way the Montreal Canadiens win. In the best way hockey is played.
Now, of course, Ken not part of that 93 team. That was Patrick Waugh. But he spoke about the dynasty years when they were winning cups, when he was winning his 6 cups, and talking about playing the way that they played, and talking about that in order to have a team where you lost 8 games a year. You had to have the best, and he said the best players. We had the best coach in Scotty Bowman. We had the best general manager in Sam Pollock. And just at every level, it was excellence, and that's what we valued in Montreal was merit and excellence.
Mm-hmm. But really, I mean, just the embodiment of what he did in his career with the Canadiens and for the Canadiens organization and beyond that for the National Hockey League is enough to make him a legend overall of the game. But really, it's almost like what Ken Dryden did as a Montreal Canadien just scratched the surface of his life's accomplishments and notoriety. Rick, this is a series that you speak about often. People who witnessed this series, it's something they'll never forget, and Ken Dryden played a major role in it.
I'll never forget it, and Ken Dryden played a key role in this series, and that's the historic 1972 Summit Series between Canada and Russia. Game 8, he played throughout the series, but he was the winning goaltender that decided the series in Game 8. And if you didn't see the series, if you weren't alive at the time, I know you can go back and look at it, but you can't get the sense of what it meant, not only to hockey, it transformed hockey in many, many ways. But it was also geopolitical impacts. It had impact on patriotism in the country. It was an incredible turning point at that time, and Ken Dryden was certainly a key part in that.
Absolutely. But then the facets of life that continued to make Ken Dryden a larger than life continued after and off the ice as well. He retired from the NHL at the age of 31. But, he had a small little degree in his back pocket.
He had a law degree from McGill. Of course, he had gone to Cornell, played college hockey, and started his degree there at Cornell. He had an unbelievable record at Cornell, something like 80-4, 78-4, something like that. But finished his law degree at McGill. He took a year off in a contract dispute and said, "No, I'm worth more." So ended up finishing off his law degree, practiced law, and then he also dabbled in broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so he was at an iconic moment in hockey history, that being he played in it in the 1972 Summit Series, but he was broadcasting for Americans the Miracle on Ice in 1980. He was the color commentator. Al Michaels did the play-by-play. That incredibly unlikely American championship in Lake Placid. And even, when we went to Lake Placid, I said, we've got to see where this is. It's in the old, on the old side, in the old arena in Lake Placid.
In the 1980 arena.
And it's just a shack, really.
A little wooden booth up in the rafters. Yeah.
And to stand where they stood.
That's right.
Was just, you could feel the history.
It gave you like a chill.
It did.
Well, it helps too that, I don't know if they still do, but at the time, during visiting hours in that arena, in one corner of kind of the middle bowl, the suite section, in not quite the lower bowl, but just above that, they play on a loop, like a highlight montage from the night, so you can hear Al Michaels' call kind of echoing through the empty building while you're standing, up in the booth. It's an incredible thing that he was part of such an iconic moment in overall hockey history.
But he wasn't done.
No.
No, he was an author. Ken Dryden, he speaks in a certain way. He writes in a certain way. You heard the passage that I read from the game at the beginning of the podcast. It's a brilliantly done book. I have 2 copies here in the studio. You have to read it multiple times, but you have to read it at least once if you're a hockey fan. 5 books in total he authored. He dabbled in politics. He was a parliamentarian and a minister. And he wasn't shy to speak out on issues that were important to him. He was a real advocate for research on concussion injuries, worked with Eric Lindros to raise awareness. He had a rich and full life. And he said at one time that whatever I do, I just want to do it well. Well, no argument there.
No, not at all. Naturally, he was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Naturally, his number 29 was retired by the Canadiens. It hangs in the rafters at the Bell Center. He received the Order of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and did we mention that he also had a key role with the Toronto Maple Leafs?
He was just the president of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, maybe it's just the way I look at the Leafs, maybe not as successful as his other endeavors, but him being the president of the Toronto Maple Leafs allowed me to meet him. And I've been very, very, very fortunate to have met all of my hockey heroes, and I've talked about them on the podcast, Saku Koivu and Jean Beliveau. But meeting Ken Dryden was special, and it was in his role. I was in an academic role at college in Toronto as an administrator, and we had a big meeting set up with the entire entourage from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Ken came in with all of his group, and we had a big meeting. And then afterwards, this 90-minute meeting, and it was about the Leafs building a practice facility on our college campus. Ken was the whole entourage was going back to the Leaf offices. Ken wasn't. He had a fundraising, some sort of charity event to attend, and his wife Linda, who volunteered at our college, by the way, in the resource center. His wife Linda was coming to pick him up, so he had some time to kill, and he was waiting. Brought him a beverage and some snacks, and we sat and talked hockey for 20-25 minutes. And I thought I'm just going to ask him about what happened here, what happened there, and he ended up asking me more questions about my meager hockey journey, and about my life, and about my choices, and about my kids, and it was, I'll never forget it, one of the most incredible hockey experiences I will ever have. And he was absolutely genuine in his curiosity, and we talked about current issues that were happening in the early 2000s in hockey, and just an incredible moment for me. And he's just a genuinely good man and a fabulous hockey player.
He always said that he was cheering for the teams and the players who deserve to win. Naturally, he kept a special eye on the Montreal Canadiens.
Congratulations, Lane. You were too small to make your mark, but then, game after game, you showed you weren't. Your team wasn't yet ready to compete, then month after month, you showed you were. Now you and your team are on your way. I can't wait to see what happens next. Go Lane, go. Go Habs, go.
So that was the message that we just heard Ken Dryden put out on social media in June in response to Lane Hutson winning the Calder Trophy. him composing something as only Ken Dryden could compose, in a almost read in a poetic kind of manner. He always kept an eye on the Canadiens, always kept an eye out for special talent, always kept an eye on, as we said, teams and players who deserve to win. And I'm sure that message meant an awful lot to Lane Hutson when he received it.
And hearing at the end, "Go Lane, go."
Yeah.
Go Habs, go. Yeah, it's just very touching.
Ken Dryden passing at the age of 78 after a battle with cancer. Our heartfelt condolences go out to Ken's wife, Linda, his children, Sarah and Michael. We know that the entire Montreal Canadiens community is feeling this deeply today. They'll feel it deeply tomorrow. This one will stick around for a while. It is a big loss for the hockey world, for the Canadiens community. And we understand if all of you are also feeling a little off kilter today as well. Our Canadiens Connection question of the week for all of you lets you tap into some of those good memories of both of these goaltenders, actually, both who had storied careers on the ice, Carey Price and Ken Dryden. We want to know, what is your favorite on-ice memory of either of these two gentlemen, Carey Price or Ken Dryden? What is your favorite on-ice memory of Carey Price or Ken Dryden? Or if you have a personal story that's especially special to you of getting to meet one of them at some, you feel free to share that as well. But we'd love to know, on the ice, what's your favorite memory of these two gentlemen? Leave us a text on our Rocket Sports text line, 5853-ROCKET. Send us a comment on our YouTube channel over at InsideTheCanadiens.com, or hit us up with a reply or a DM on social media at Habs Connection. We will definitely be gathering what we know will be a multitude of great responses to this question, so that we can read them out to everyone next week, because everyone is going to have different favorite memories of these two guys on the ice, and it'll be fun to relive those fabulous moments through all of your responses. So we look forward to hearing from you. And with that, we are going to take another quick break here on the Canadiens Connection podcast. And when we come back, we're going to hear what some of you had to say in response to last week's Canadiens Connection question of the week. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio.
NFL fans, Week 1 is your shot to play free and stack a $1 million cash bag with DraftKings Pick 6, an official partner of the NFL. Here's how. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, DraftKings' easiest way to play fantasy. Enter for free and pick more or less on 6 player stats for Week 1. Share your link with friends to add more cash to the bag and get bonus shots to win. If you hit all Pick 6, you'll be splitting a bag that's already at $1 million or more. So download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, use code THPN, opt in for free, and start stacking entries for NFL Week 1. Zero cost, huge upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. Must claim token for free entry in Bag Builder contest. Only perfect entries earn share of cash prize. Tokens are single use and expire September 8th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
And welcome back to the Canadiens Connection podcast right here on Rocket Sports Radio. Once again, if you haven't done so already, be sure you subscribe to the podcast. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel over at InsideTheCanadiens.com. We want to hear from you, so be sure to send us your texts and your comments, your questions, your bold statements, predictions, whatever you'd like to share. Be sure to text us at 585-3ROCKET. Don't forget, especially now that things are gearing up for the season and rookie camp is starting in less than a week, make sure that you have bookmarked our new home for written content, which is hockeyhotstove.com. In fact, we have a guest article posted there this week by a young man named Jesse, and it is very aptly timed because it is an article that discusses a different angle about Carey Price, and you want to be sure to check that out. So head over to hockeyhotstove.com, click on the Habs logo to take you to our Montreal Canadiens coverage, or if you want to just get there directly, we have a short link that gets you there from habshotstove.com. Also, if you want to leave your thoughts about Ken Dryden or Carey Price, head over to the forum on hockeyhotstove.com, the Montreal Canadiens forum, and jump into one of the threads there that are discussing these two gentlemen in detail, and leave your thoughts and feelings there as well.
And just as a preview, Jesse, in his article, was kind of wondering what it would be like, what could have been different if Carey Price had a general manager who had followed a path, a playbook like Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes are doing, rather than the kinds of moves, kind of one step forward, two step back moves of a Marc Bergevin. Interesting kind of concept. A lot of Canadiens fans have been kind of pondering the same. Price didn't have much to work with during his tenure with the Canadiens. So if you're interested, and if you have your own opinions on that, be sure to head over to the hockeyhotstove.com and find that Canadiens logo to take you to the article.
Absolutely. Last week's Canadiens Connection question of the week. Don't forget, we do absolutely want to hear your thoughts for this week's question. What is your favorite on-ice memory of Carey Price and or Ken Dryden? Let us know. We really look forward to compiling a lot of great responses for this question. Last week's was a pretty hot button question, which was, would you trade Arbor Jackeye for a first round pick, or is his physical edge too valuable? And this question was one of the, as I said, it's a hot button topic, and it even motivated some of our own Rocket Sports team to jump in with very vocal opinions on this.
Yeah, Mike is our has a focus on the CHL and watches Canadian junior hockey for us, and potential prospects. He says, CC question of the week, Wi-Fi for a first ? Absolutely. I take that and run. As a borderline third pairing D-man that needs a favorable partner to not be exposed defensively, I think he's worth a third round pick realistically. And since we're in no rush to move him and a division rival is asking, you wait for a second. So if you're offered a first, you take it and run, says Mike. He goes on to say his physicality and intimidation factor aren't nearly as important now as they were in the depths of a rebuild while introducing young rookies. Those rookies are now core pieces and can protect themselves. Xhekaj simply doesn't have a spot in the lineup anymore. The skill is too strong on the back end to justify sitting someone else for Wi-Fi. It was fun while it lasted, but like Pez up front, we don't have room for one-dimensional players anymore. Now imagine anyone else who is a borderline lineup player, and you're being offered a first for and saying no. It's insanity. Yes, take it and run, says Mike. So he's pretty clear on where he stands.
Absolutely. There was no shortage of replies on YouTube either. We had at Janet Collins 1129 saying no X trade. Short and sweet. Just don't do it. At Habs fan 64 says no. Love Arbor. Then we have at Charles Patrick 61 says Arbor is not going to be moved. Both Jack guys, Arbor and Florian, will be a big part of this team. If Arbor gets traded, then it will be a fail for Marty St. Louis. We have some great players, high skill and talent. You need to protect those players in a meaningful way. Arbor is a force as a hitter and a fighter. He also could play defense. Every team desires an Arbor Jack guy. It's a pretty big statement.
For sure.
Who else? Why don't you go ahead and take the last two?
At Slicky14 says Matheson and Struble will be long gone before Xhekaj. Doc is what we're intrigued about because I don't see Gorton and Hughes making a trade till around the trade freeze in December. I can't make it during the trade freeze, just before, I guess. Better players will be available when teams see they're not where they want to be and decide to tank for the draft. And lastly, it's our dear friend Leonid from St. Petersburg. He said, this year I decided to take a couple of months off from hockey, given the non-sporting activities and the eventful summer of cricket. It's wonderful to get back into hockey. The European leagues are starting. The Champions League is warming up, and there are games already. I attended a VHL match between two teams from St. Petersburg, and even though it's not North American hockey, I still like watching hockey in person. It was a completely different feeling, meeting a lot of hockey people and old friends. My hockey season has started, and with it, new hopes have come. May my hopes and yours come true in the coming hockey year. What a nice sentiment from Leonid.
We always love to hear from him, and we love to hear from all of you. Always really very passionate responses, and I imagine that we're going to hear some really emotional and very poignant responses to this week's question of the week, asking you for your favorite on-ice memories of Carey Price and Ken Dryden. And you can hear all of those responses and so much more as we start to detail what's happened in the first few days of rookie camp. That'll all be on the next episode of the Canadiens Connection podcast coming up next Saturday, September 13th. It will then be out on our YouTube channel the following Monday. That would be the same day as the golf tournament. So everything is going to start happening all at once. We don't want you to miss a moment of it. Be sure you hit subscribe and be sure you come back again next week for another great episode of the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio.